Let's start with what we already know. Episode 5 picks up after Caleb and Nathan's close call with the plane, an incident that could have been one of the most intense storylines in recent years if done right. The official synopsis hints that the emotional aftermath will take center stage, and honestly, it should. Caleb, who's usually confident and steady, will find himself struggling with guilt over what happened, and from what we've seen, he's not taking it lightly. There's a brief shot of him sitting alone in the barn, staring into space, like the weight of everything is finally sinking in. The show might actually use this moment to dive deeper into Caleb's insecurities, which is long overdue. But then again, if they rush it like they've done in the last few episodes, we might just get another round of forced drama that doesn't hit emotionally. Meanwhile, Amy's storyline is about to take a darker turn. For the first time in a while, we'll see her confidence shaken. Not because of relationships, but because of her work. She's been called in to help an Olympian's horse that refuses to train. And at first, it looks like a perfect opportunity for Amy to prove once again that she's the miracle worker of Heartland. But the preview suggests that things won't go smoothly this time. Apparently, even Amy can't figure out what's wrong with the horse, which leads to the Olympian publicly questioning her skills. And let's be real, this is going to hit Amy hard. We all know how much she values her work and how much of her identity is tied to helping horses heal. If people start doubting her, it's not just her career on the line, it's her entire sense of purpose. I don't know about you, but I'm sensing that this storyline could either give us one of the most emotional Amy arcs since Ty's death, or completely fall flat if they don't build it up right. Now, the preview didn't show much of Nathan, but that's exactly what makes it interesting. He's barely featured, which tells me his presence might be more emotional than physical this time. Maybe he's staying close to Amy, being the quiet support she needs when the world starts doubting her again. The chemistry between them is undeniable, even if it's still a sore subject for some fans who can't see anyone else next to Amy after Ty. Personally, I think this episode might be where Nathan finally shows a side of himself we haven't seen yet. Someone who's not just chasing Amy, but genuinely standing by her through her lowest point. Still, it's Heartland we're talking about, and the show loves teasing emotional moments without actually delivering them. So let's see how far they go this time. But that's not all. The Flemings are also going to have their fair share of drama. Lou is back to juggling too many things at once. Mayor duties, family, and her personal life. Which, let's be honest, always seems to be hanging by a thread. Katie's story, on the other hand, might surprise a lot of people. If you remember Dex from the last episode, the clumsy ranch hand who seemed completely out of place, well, he's not going anywhere. In fact, from what's been hinted, Dex might start spending more time around Katie. And honestly, you can already tell where this is going. The show is clearly setting them up to be the next big Heartland couple for the younger generation. But whether that's a good or bad thing depends on how they handle it. If it's too rushed, it'll feel fake. If it's slow and genuine, we might actually have something worth rooting for. Now, here's the thing that really caught my attention. There's a mysterious scene in the trailer. Amy standing outside the barn late at night, looking shocked as headlights approach. We don't see who's in the car, but the way she freezes makes it look serious. Could it be Nathan coming back after the accident? Or maybe someone completely unexpected? I'm not saying it's going to be a major twist, but Heartland rarely adds suspense scenes like this without reason. So part of me believes we might get a surprise character appearance or a moment that sets up something much bigger for the rest of the season. Whatever it is, this episode clearly wants to keep us on edge, and I'm not complaining about that. Still, as much as I'm intrigued, I can't help but worry. Heartland used to have this rare magic where even the smallest moments, like Amy brushing a horse or Jack giving advice, felt deep and meaningful. Lately, it feels like they're trying to copy that magic instead of naturally creating it. The first look at episode 5 gives me mixed signals. On one hand, the tension and emotional buildup are there. On the other hand, the pacing and realism might be missing again. But hey, maybe this time they'll actually surprise us. After all, Heartland has pulled off comebacks before, so I'm holding on to a bit of hope that this episode could be the one to remind us why we fell in love with this show in the first place.
If there's one thing I've learned after following Heartland for nearly 2 decades, it's that the show knows how to tease us with emotional setups. But lately, I've started to notice a pattern. The build-up feels amazing, and then the payoff just fizzles out. And honestly, that's my biggest fear for episode 5. Because from what we've seen in the sneak peeks and early descriptions, the tension is there. But the question is, will it actually mean something? Like, will Amy's struggles with the Olympian's horse lead to genuine character growth, or are we just going to get another storyline that's resolved in 10 minutes, never to be mentioned again? You know what I mean, right? It's that frustrating feeling when you can see the potential, but the writing refuses to dig deep enough. Let's talk about Amy for a second, because let's be honest, she's still the soul of the show. The preview scenes show her looking tired, almost defeated, a side of her we don't see often. She's usually the calm, collected one who knows exactly how to fix things, but this time, even she seems lost. There's one shot where she's in the round pen, just watching the horse pacing nervously, and you can tell it's getting to her. She whispers something like, "What am I missing?" And that line alone hits differently. It's not just about the horse. It's about Amy herself. She's been carrying everyone's expectations for so long that failure isn't something she knows how to process. And now that someone is openly doubting her abilities, it's shaking her entire world. That's why I think this episode could be one of the most emotionally layered ones this season, if they take their time with it. Now, remember how in the first look trailer, we saw a moment where Amy storms out of the barn while Nathan calls after her? That's not just a random argument. According to early leaks, Amy will push Nathan away at first because she doesn't want his help. She's angry, embarrassed, and scared that people might see her as weak. And Nathan, being the stubborn guy that he is, won't take no for an answer. He'll follow her, trying to convince her that she doesn't have to go through this alone. Honestly, that's a dynamic I'm actually excited to see. Because while their chemistry is undeniable, this kind of emotional tension, the push and pull, the vulnerability, is what makes their connection believable. It's not about the romance. It's about trust. And if Heartland plays that right, it could be the moment Nathan finally earns his place in Amy's life, not as Ty's replacement, but as his own person. Meanwhile, things at Heartland Ranch are going to get messy. And I mean really messy. Lou is still trying to balance her mayoral duties while also helping Katie prepare for her next rodeo event. But as usual, Lou's overprotective side will kick in. She wants everything to be perfect. The right outfit, the right timing, the right people, and that's where the friction starts. Katie, on the other hand, just wants to do things her way. And honestly, I get her. She's growing up, trying to figure out who she is, and the last thing she needs is her mom breathing down her neck. But what makes this even more interesting is that Dex, yes, the same Dex who could barely saddle a horse last episode, will somehow get involved in this whole situation. Apparently, he'll offer to help Katie train, which sounds like a disaster waiting to happen. Still, that's exactly why I'm intrigued. Sometimes, the best Heartland moments come from unexpected pairings, and something tells me that Katie and Dex might bring back a little bit of that classic ranch humor we've all been missing. But let's not ignore the bigger picture here. There's something strange about the pacing of Season 19 so far. It's like the show can't decide what it wants to be. One minute it's all emotional and dramatic, and the next, it's lighthearted and borderline unrealistic. And I can't help but wonder if Episode 5 will finally give us a balance. Because the trailer gave off this eerie, suspenseful tone, the kind we haven't felt since the early seasons. Yet the synopsis sounds like just another Amy fixes a horse episode. Could there be something more hidden beneath the surface? Maybe that mysterious nighttime scene isn't just about Amy seeing a car pull up. Maybe it's connected to something bigger, like a person from her past showing up unannounced. There's a rumor going around that someone we thought was gone might reappear, and if that's true, it could completely change the direction of this season. And speaking of people showing up unannounced, where's Jack in all of this? You know it's never a true Heartland episode without at least one Jack Wisdom moment. He's the glue that holds everything together, and I have a feeling he'll play a quiet but powerful role this week. From what we've seen, Jack might be the only one who notices that Amy is spiraling, even when she tries to hide it. He's been through his share of loss, guilt, and self-doubt, so he'll probably try to remind her that it's okay to not have all the answers. I really hope they give him a strong moment this episode because lately, he's been pushed too far into the background. And honestly, Heartland without Jack's grounded wisdom just doesn't feel the same. The one thing that keeps bugging me, though, is how predictable everything feels lately. Like, even when the stakes are high, I can already guess how it'll play out. Amy will struggle, she'll doubt herself, someone will tell her to believe again, and by the end, everything magically works out. And I get it. That's the Heartland formula. But season 19 was supposed to feel new, mature, more real. So, if episode 5 really wants to stand out, it needs to take risks. Maybe let Amy actually fail this time. Let her make mistakes that have lasting consequences. Let us see her rebuild, not just patch things up overnight. Because that's the kind of storytelling that hits home. Not perfection, but perseverance. So far, episode 5 looks promising on the surface. Drama, tension, a dash of romance, and emotional turmoil. But the real test will be whether it feels like Heartland. Not just another TV drama trying to recreate its past glory, but the show that once made us cry, cheer, and believe in second chances. Right now, it's standing at a crossroads, and whichever direction it chooses could decide how we remember the rest of this season. Will episode 5 be the turning point Heartland desperately needs, or will it be another reminder that the show's best days might really be behind us? I guess we'll find out soon enough. There's something about this upcoming episode that feels different, even if it's hard to put a finger on it. The entire atmosphere of episode 5 seems heavier, more personal, like every character is being forced to face something they've been avoiding. And I have to admit, that's the kind of storytelling that made Heartland so powerful in the first place. It wasn't about the big dramatic moments or shocking twists. It was about people confronting their fears and trying to grow through them. But the real question is, will episode 5 give us that depth? Or just the illusion of it? Because right now, everything looks emotional on the surface, but I can't shake the feeling that the writers might once again take the easy way out. Let's start with Amy, because everything still revolves around her story this season. From the looks of it, episode 5 will take her to a breaking point. She spent years being the miracle girl, the one who can fix every horse and every problem that comes her way. But what happens when she fails? What happens when all the tools, techniques, and experience she's relied on suddenly don't work anymore? That's what this episode is setting up. You can sense that deep frustration in her eyes, the way she forces a smile when people ask if everything's okay, even though she's completely falling apart inside. And honestly, that's what makes her human. I want to see Amy lose control a little, not because she's weak, but because it's real. Life isn't always smooth and heroic, and it's about time Heartland reminded us of that. From what's been teased, the Olympian she's working with will be a major source of tension. He's described as confident, even arrogant, and that's going to clash hard with Amy's calm and empathetic approach. Apparently, he won't be shy about criticizing her methods in front of everyone. And get this, he's not just any Olympian, he's someone with a big public following, which means when he starts doubting Amy's abilities, it spreads fast. I can already picture it. People whispering, clients canceling, Amy scrolling through nasty comments online, wondering if her reputation is gone. And the sad part? We've never really seen Amy deal with that kind of public pressure before. She's always been respected, loved, almost untouchable in her little corner of Hudson. But this storyline might finally force her out of that safe space and make her face a world that isn't always kind. Now, Nathan's role in all this is going to be crucial. We know he's protective, sometimes too much for his own good, but in episode 5, we might see a softer, more thoughtful side of him. There's a scene mentioned in early press notes where he visits Amy after the whole Olympian incident, and she doesn't want to talk to him. She tells him to leave, but he just stands there quietly, saying something like, "You don't have to fix everything alone." And you can feel that's not just about the horse. It's about Amy's entire life. Nathan might not have Ty's quiet wisdom, but he's trying in his own way, and that effort alone could make him more likable to fans who are still on the fence about him. But let's be honest, no matter what he does, comparisons to Ty will never stop. That's the curse of being Amy's next love interest. Still, I think this episode might help Nathan carve out his own place in the story, not as a replacement, but as a reminder that love can exist again, even after heartbreak. Meanwhile, there's something strange happening back at the ranch. Jack has been unusually distant lately, and the preview hints that he's dealing with something he's not telling anyone about. There's a brief clip of him looking through old photos, which makes me think we might finally get a glimpse into his past again. Maybe it's related to a friend he lost, or some unfinished business that's haunting him. Whatever it is, I have a feeling this subplot will run quietly alongside Amy's chaos, acting as a parallel to remind us that pain doesn't go away, it just changes form over time. And if there's one thing Heartland always gets right, it's showing how generational wisdom carries the family forward. Jack doesn't say much, but when he finally speaks, it hits hard. I'm hoping episode 5 gives us one of those moments, maybe a quiet talk between him and Amy late at night, where he reminds her that even when the world doubts you, your worth doesn't disappear. Then there's Lou. I know some fans get tired of her constant stress and overthinking, but I actually think her storyline this season is setting up something important. She's been trying to do everything. Be a good mom, a mayor, a businesswoman, and now a support system for Amy. But she's spreading herself too thin. Episode 5 might be the point where she realizes that she can't be everywhere at once. There's mention of a conflict between her and Lisa, and honestly, I'm not surprised. Those two have always had a bit of a power struggle when it comes to family decisions. Maybe it's about money, maybe about Katie, or maybe even about how much they're interfering in Amy's life. Either way, I expect some heated words and emotional fallout. And knowing Lou, she'll probably regret half of what she says, but it'll be too late to take it back. Katie's subplot, on the other hand, will likely bring a touch of lightness to balance all this drama. She's slowly coming into her own, and Dex will be right beside her, probably in his awkward, clueless way. From what's been teased, Dex will mess up something at the ranch again, maybe scare one of the horses or break a piece of equipment, and Katie will have to cover for him. It sounds small, but moments like these are what build chemistry between characters. I can already see that spark growing, even if they both pretend it's not there. The writers are definitely setting them up as the next generation's love story, and honestly, I'm not against it. Heartland needs a new young couple to carry the emotional weight forward in future seasons, and Katie and Dex might be that pair, if the show doesn't rush it like they've done with other relationships before. Now let's go back to that mysterious nighttime scene from the trailer because I can't stop thinking about it. The headlights, Amy's face, the silence, it all feels intentional. What if the person showing up isn't Nathan or anyone from the current cast? What if it's someone from Amy's past, maybe even a familiar face we never expected to see again? I know, it sounds far-fetched, but Heartland loves surprising us when we least expect it. Remember when we all thought Ty's storyline was predictable, and then they completely flipped it on its head? It's possible this scene could mark the beginning of something much bigger, maybe even a storyline that ties back to older seasons. Whatever it is, it's giving the episode an edge of suspense that we haven't felt in a long time. At this point, episode 5 feels like it's sitting on the edge of greatness. It has all the right ingredients: emotion, tension, mystery. But whether it actually delivers depends entirely on how the writers handle it. Heartland fans are loyal, but they're also tired of being teased with storylines that go nowhere. This time, it needs to count. Amy's career crisis, Nathan's emotional growth, Jack's quiet reflection, all of it has to come together in a way that feels real and earned. Otherwise, it'll just be another episode that we watch, talk about for a day, and then forget. And let's be honest, Heartland deserves better than that. We deserve better than that. You know what's funny? Every time I think I've figured out where Heartland is going, it somehow manages to throw a curveball that leaves me second-guessing everything. Episode 5 feels like one of those episodes that could either redefine this season or completely fall apart trying. The tension, the mystery, the emotional stakes, everything is there, just waiting to explode. And from the looks of the early reactions, fans are already divided. Some people think this episode is going to be the big emotional reset Heartland desperately needs, while others are convinced it'll be another predictable disappointment. Personally, I'm standing somewhere in the middle, cautiously optimistic, but also ready to be let down if the writing doesn't hold up. Because at this point, Heartland isn't just a show anymore, it's a legacy. And episode 5 needs to prove that legacy still matters. Now, one of the biggest talking points going into this episode is the growing tension between Amy and the Olympian client. If you've been watching Heartland long enough, you know Amy doesn't lose her cool easily. She's patient, she listens, she connects. It's what makes her the horse whisperer everyone trusts. But this time, the trailer makes it clear that things are different. The Olympian, who's used to being in control, doesn't appreciate Amy's softer, more intuitive methods. There's a moment where he snaps at her, saying something like, "You're wasting my time." And for a split second, you can see Amy's expression change from calm to furious. That's not the Amy we're used to. And honestly, I kind of love it. We need to see that fire again. That side of her that fights back when pushed too far. Because lately she's been too quiet, too composed. Almost like the writers forgot that Amy Fleming used to have an edge. But what really has people talking is how this conflict spirals out of control. According to a few leaked details, the Olympian might take things public. Maybe a post online or a rumor in the local paper, questioning Amy's professionalism. And if that's true, it's going to open the door to something much bigger than a one-episode problem. Imagine the emotional weight of Amy seeing her reputation crumble, not because of something she did wrong, but because someone powerful decided to discredit her. That's not just heartbreaking, it's realistic. It's something a lot of people can relate to. Working so hard for years, only to have your credibility questioned by someone with more influence. If the writers handle that with care, this could easily become one of the most relatable and painful storylines Amy's ever had. Now, where does Nathan fit into all this chaos? Well, it looks like episode 5 will finally give him the chance to prove himself, not with grand gestures or dramatic speeches, but through quiet, consistent support. There's a hint in the preview of him standing outside the barn while Amy works late into the night, almost like he's watching over her without wanting to intrude. That's a small moment, but it says a lot. Nathan isn't trying to fix her, he's just there, present, patient, steady. And honestly, that's exactly what Amy needs right now. She doesn't need another man trying to take control of her life or her pain. She needs someone who lets her process things at her own pace. If Nathan plays that role, fans might finally start warming up to him. Because for the first time, it won't be about replacing Ty, it'll be about understanding Amy. And that's a big step forward for both of them. Meanwhile, the rest of the Heartland family won't just be standing by. Lou, as always, will try to jump in and fix things her way, maybe calling meetings, offering unwanted advice, or trying to manage Amy's PR situation. And you can already guess how that's going to go. Amy, who's already emotionally drained, will probably snap back at her sister, and we might see another classic Fleming family argument unfold. It's messy, but it's real. And honestly, I miss that. The best Heartland moments have always come from those honest, painful family conflicts where everyone means well, but no one really listens. If episode 5 leans into that, we might finally get that raw emotional realism the show has been missing lately.